Hello, everyone, and welcome to the RadyCAST. This is the very first ever video version of our podcast. I'll probably put a little graphic up here. For those of you on audio, I am waving my hand on the screen, and in video, I'm going to put a little graphic up there. It'll look really cool, or not. Anyway, we're talking jazz this week. It is time for the second jazz show in the Izzy Asper Jazz series. And on Saturday and Sunday coming up this week, we've got the African Rhythm Alumni Ensemble led by band leader TK Blue, and then a lineup of just legends of the jazz world. So my guest today, again, is I'm welcoming back Charlene Diehl, who is the music producer for the series. And we have a great talk about the concert. Then later on, we've got Tomer back here to talk about programming, and Lindsey and I hit the gym for the fitness corner, and we do a little interview in the small gymnasium here at the Rady. So that's a lot to get to, and we're going to get to it right now. It's time now to get into our interview today. I am delighted to welcome back Charlene Diehl, musical producer for the Izzy Asper Jazz series. Hello, Charlene, and how are you doing today?
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. And you?
Good. I'm ready for some sparkle at the end of this month. I'm not loving the gray skies, honestly.
Fair enough. It took a turn so fast to get cold, and it came right after it was so hot for a week. So it's just teasing us.
Yeah, it's the
funny that you speak about the end of the month, though. Because at the end of the month, we've got this amazing concert coming that you know all about, that we're gonna talk about here.
Right on. Yeah, there's occasionally when I'm booking artists, there'll just be an opportunity that I think, oh, that one, we just can't miss a chance for that one. And I really think we've got a great lineup all year, but this one, there's something very special about this, partly because the artists are really established, which, is kind of a code for saying they're no longer young, most of them. And at some point, we're not going to have a chance to hear them at all. So, there's a lot of history coming onto the stage.
So this is African Rhythms Alumni Ensemble. And so speaking of that, carrying that history, these guys are long time established. So we're getting close to their encore performances, but in turn, the performance they're doing is honoring Randy Weston, who's already left us in 2018. So We're really carrying forward, and Weston was really big as far as I dug up in my readings. He was really starting out in the 60s and 70s. So we're really capturing a wealth of jazz history in one night and one day.
That's the way I look at it. And if you see clips of them playing, which I know you have, Chris, you see how when you love to make music and when the music is your language, it's so enlivening. So these are not young men up there on that stage, but they are so vital and so joyful. It's just infectious. So Randy Weston was a really important jazz pianist in the 60s and 70s, and one of the first serious people in the jazz tradition to really spend time in Africa, kind of reconnecting African roots, because what's magic about jazz is that it has this very elaborate rhythm language, which is part of the origin story of jazz. The origin story of jazz was basically the mixing together of musical traditions. It was a kind of refusal, I guess you might say, of musical folks to segregate. They did not want to, and which is sort of an interesting thing with artists in general. There's ways in which artists can share and be influenced by one another, even if culturally they're at, fairly great distances. But Weston was really interested in kind of going back to explore some of the instrumental and rhythmic sounds that came to the U.S. With the slave trade. So he lived in Africa for quite a bit and traveled there, and a lot of the music the sort of musical overlay that comes into his playing is a little bit of that East African kind of mystical feel. He lived in Morocco for a while, so you kind of hear that Mid-Eastern sound palette a little bit. And his band was African Rhythms. So thus we're talking about African rhythms, I guess. But he really wanted to make space to move these kind of elaborate sonic expressions back into the accessible jazz that people were listening to in the States, which is how things get revitalized. So he was a very impactful musician, and all of these guys at various points played with him. So they were part of the African Rhythms band, and now they're the African Rhythms Alumni Ensemble. So they're all alumni of Randy Weston, and our musical director here is TK Blue, who is a saxophonist and a flute player. His winds are just glorious. And he was a musical director for Randy Weston's band for quite a chunk of time. So they were very close. And TK has talked very openly about what an extraordinary influence Randy Weston was on his development as a musician, and the opportunities that he's had to play, as you know from poking around in our YouTubes. TK Blue is a very prolific musician, and a very sensitive person. So you kind of hear this beautiful spirit coming through all of his playing in whatever ensembles he's with. And one thing I'm particularly excited for in this concert with TK Blue particularly is that he also is a person who plays the kalimba, which is an African piano. I don't know if you heard any clips of this, Chris, but
I did. He's sitting and he's just playing this thumb piano, and it's hypnotizing.
It's so plain. It's just a little tiny. You've probably seen them in, souvenir shops,
museum gift shops.
Sometimes, yeah. Right? They are simple. They're a very simple instrument, but in his hands, it is just mesmerizing, and you really feel kind of like there's a connection, an otherworldly connection to, I don't know, the ghosts. I don't know how to put it in a way that's not too.
No, I hear you. It's like you are hearing the African rhythms, which is kind of cool.
You're hearing the African rhythms and the tonalities and it's really magical. So,
and it's still super jazzy because again, while I was poking around, when I was looking into Weston, his influences are Duke Ellington, Thelonious Monk, and
exactly
like the big guys of jazz. Like, so it's still very jazzy, but it's got this beautiful ribbon of this African to it.
Yeah, I think that's maybe what is so exciting about this particular group is it is very embedded in the jazz tradition. Like, it's got very deep roots in blues and the Ellington and the old swing bands and Thelonious Monk, all those pianists you can hear just channeling through. But then it has this other overlay of like, where does this music, what other histories are inside this music? So it kind of gathers in influences which are not added on top of, but kind of like echoes inside. So it feels very integrated, but just a little bit fresh to the ear, because we don't necessarily hear a lot of mainstream jazz with that kind of Mid-Eastern overlay and the African instrumentation. I know for this band, sometimes when this band plays, they have a drummer and a percussionist. They're coming without a drummer. They're just coming with a percussionist. And so there'll be quite an array of percussion, because those that's a really important part of the sound palette, is this, really dense, elaborate percussive sounds. And I know that the manager has said a few times, like, the percussionist needs to talk to your supplier because we have to make sure we have all the right instruments. So, I think it's going to be a sort of a curious mix of novel and very settling, because it's going to be familiar, sort of novelty and familiarity in an interesting package.
Well, that idea of the percussionist coming without a drummer, I mean, that's the backbone of all jazz, is that beat. So when your main beat for this show is not a guy on a snare drum,
right,
and instead is just every other instrument under the sun, that's going to be an exciting show.
I think so. Also, there's a thing about I've heard other concerts where a percussionist replaces a drummer, and the texture of the music is a little bit lighter. It's a bit more transparent almost. So you can hear a lot of the intricacy of the rhythms that are going to be coming through that percussionist. And when you watch clips of this band, it's like everybody on that stage is a drummer, right? If you watch that bass player, that is a solid. That's a solid
hammering
beat.
that bass.
Yeah, no, that guy is having a ball. The piano player is like really strong. So there's a real joyful rhythm that's just going to take us through 2 hours of amazing music.
Because they played together so long, that you see that relationship between them, that trust in playing the jazz. And that's the fun part for me, is like, it's never quite the same song twice. So when you've got 5 people who are just in sync because they're buddies, it's going to be really, really fun to watch.
And I think they're also all, it was really, really great training to be playing with Randy, who was a wickedly good player and had a very strong musical signature. And all of these folks are kind of channeling how important the music is. They're not just entertaining, they're kind of carrying a tradition that they feel responsible for. But I agree with you, when they are playing, they are all committed and they are communicating on so many levels at the same time. It's very fun to watch. And it's very fun to listen to.
And he's like, I got it. You got it? I got it. And then they pick it up and they keep going. Yeah.
Totally.
It's great. Yeah. You see the horn player just, tapping like, oh, shit, it's my turn.
Yeah.
Because he's getting lost in the music himself.
They get all the way inside the music. It's mesmerizing. And it's a very interesting art form also, in that I think in some ways it's got more room for an audience to be present. Like, unlike classical concerts, when something really amazing happens with a solo in a jazz concert, you applaud right in the middle of a piece. There's just this kind of ongoing interaction between an audience and the players. And it's, I think of it kind of like an electrical circuit in a way. So, an animated audience will just lift a band. And when I talk to them in the break in the green room, they'll often come off the stage like, whoa, this audience is so present. And then it's kind of it's another kind of collaboration almost, because there's definitely collaboration happens on a stage. As you say, never the same song twice, because they're all inventing, they're talking, it's conversation in musical form. And an audience's attention and presence is part of that conversation too. So you're not a neutral party sitting out there. You're also contributing to an experience.
I can't think of a better way to end than to say that our Rady audience needs to be a part of this. So thank you again for joining us. And I'm very much looking forward to this concert.
I am too. Thanks for checking in. It's nice to talk about it.
Yeah, thanks. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, we are here for our very first in-person on-video program corner. So what better guest to have than Tomer? Welcome.
Thank you.
So we are here on November 24th. So there's a lot happening, and there's a big show coming up this weekend. Why don't you tell us what's happening?
Yeah, so this upcoming weekend, November 29th and the 30th, we have our jazz concert. And this one in particular, I'm very excited for, because it brings a new group, which gives a little bit of a different flair from the regular jazz that we usually have for all those who are a little bit timid with jazz and are not sure if they like jazz or not. this is the weekend to come and try it, because we have the African Ensemble coming up, and they're doing some incredible things with an incredible group of all famous people. That will give you a very exciting introduction to jazz and blues and a little bit of the African.
Those roots where that sound really came from, those percussion drums,
yes.
and the kalimba thumb piano,
Yeah.
and like the flute and the saxophone of the jazz. I think it's going to be a really exciting show.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it, and I really hope to see you guys in there. We have few tickets left, so if you are interested, please go ahead and register. I'm your person if you need any assistance with buying those tickets. Again, it's happening on this weekend, Saturday 8 p.m. or Sunday at 2 p.m. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
You said Saturday is close to selling out, so
Yes,
I would
yes,
act
it
pretty
is.
soon if you're interested in coming to see this group.
Yeah, we actually have few seats left for Saturday and Sunday as well, so I urge you to go ahead and come and register and buy your tickets as soon as you can.
And then we're into, I can't believe I'm saying this in November, but then we're into Hanukkah.
Yes. So today, Monday, we have our pop-up store that's opening here at the Rady Center. It will be right outside of the programming offices, which is just across from the membership desk. This is the place to come in and buy anything Hanukkah themed that you want, from candles to menorahs to dreidels, even plates and tablecloths, everything you might think of. This is your spot to go ahead and buy it. Instead of rushing from Superstore to Safeway, back to Sobeys to try and find all your favorite things, we have our pop-up
one-stop
store.
Hanukkah shop.
Exactly, right here outside of my office. That's where you can come in and buy that. And then if we're already speaking of Hanukkah, a little bit further down the road, we have our big family event that happens every year. This year it's going to be on Sunday, December 14th. And if you've ever attended any of our big holiday celebration, fun is guaranteed. Not only for the kids, but also for the adults to see their kids running around and blowing off some steam. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I do want to keep most of the things as a surprise, but I know that it will be an amazing event, and I encourage everybody to come in. Besides that, we will have multiple other programs, whether it's for little kids, toddlers, till tweens, and then we'll have some for the adults and the seniors as well. So we have it all. And we're very excited for Hanukkah. I bet everybody else is as well. Yeah. So stay tuned and keep an eye out for our programs.
And in the meantime, we still have Family Fun Zone happening. Yes. We still have Toddler Zone happening for the little ones. And we still have birthday parties.
Birthday parties.
But the birthday parties are filling up. So if you got a birthday party coming up, you're going to want to book it, because these guys take care of everything, and they do it like the list of things that are just provided in the base package. Yeah. It's enough to just make you just, wow, I don't believe I could ask for more.
Worry-free.
Worry-free.
Worry-free. Like, you essentially do nothing but come and enjoy with your kids. So yeah, whether you have questions about anything from jazz to children programming, classes for the winter, which we haven't spoken about yet, fun zone, toddler zone, birthday parties, I'm your guy. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to give you any information or questions that you might have. I'll be more than happy to assist, as always.
That sounds perfect. Thank you so much for coming again and being our guinea pig on our video version of the podcast. And we'll talk to you next time.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. We're here for our very first on-camera fitness corner. Lindsey is my first guest here. And we are taking our money where our mouth is. We're both sitting here on exercise balls. So if I fall and you hear a scream, that's what's going on. Lindsey, welcome.
Yes, thank you. I'm so happy to be here again. So, yeah, we're having a fun. When you're on the ball, you're having a ball.
We're having a ball. So tell me, this is November 24th that this is coming out. Couple things. What's coming up in December? I know we've got registration happening for the winter programs.
Yes, so make sure you're on top of that. There's all of our winter programming closer to that second week of December. You can start thinking about what you're going to do in the new year, and you want to be on top of that because you don't want to miss out on a chance to get into some of our programming. Maybe you didn't get in yet, and this is your time.
And our classes have been really filling up fast these days, so that's not not a thing to sit on for sure. I know that we've got sold out on a lot of things that are running that are very popular.
Yes, and so what we're doing is we're going to be adding more classes. So if you've been finding it a little bit frustrating trying to get into some of our programming, we're trying to add those extra classes to accommodate all of you that are looking to get healthy and move your bodies. And yeah, so take a look at some of those new changes that'll be coming up.
So you mentioned, actually, we were talking earlier today, there's a brand new, speaking of which, a brand new Aquafit.
Yes, and so if you've been coming on Mondays, you've been noticing that we've been getting like 80 plus bodies in the water there. So we have tried to offset that by adding an extra class. So one at 8:30 for 45 minutes, and then you'll see me again at 9:30 for 45 minutes. So 2 classes on Mondays now. So make sure you space yourself out so that way you get the most out of your aqua.
So moving away from our schedule, we are talking about, we're sitting here on the ball, and most people that are listening to this podcast probably sitting down somewhere. What can we do if we sit all the time? Give me one thing I can do if my 90% of my day is sitting. What can I do to kind of just start feeling a little bit better in my body?
So you can try to reach those hands up and then exhale, drop them down. Good. Open up your chest. Do that a few times. That'll help getting you sitting a little bit taller. It'll help with low back pain because now we're opening up and we're not rounded forward. So doing that, and even just doing a few leg kicks. So kicking those legs out. You know, you can't see our feet here, but if you kick those legs out, try to get that blood flowing in those legs there, Chris. Yeah, a little balance on these balls here today. Good.
Okay. That is Fitness Corner on the ball. Thanks again, Lindsay.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
We'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.
That's all the time we've got for this week's RadyCAST. I thank you all for joining us and listening and watching. And if you like the show, I recommend you like and subscribe on Spotify. You'll be able to now like and subscribe on YouTube if you so choose, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, we will talk to you later.